Okay, so we have to remember that our politicians are actors, and today they're playing the construction worker. Krista Freeland, the Justice Minister, Mayor Olivia Chow, and so on. All of them are playing their parts, though they're not doing a very good job at it. They don't seem to be that convincing in their part as a construction worker or construction workers. But at any rate, they might be wearing hard hats because they're making their announcement for housing in a construction zone. Fair enough. But they're trying to project an image of we're just like you. We're just like the working people. We're just regular average Canadians. Even though, construction workers produce wealth, they generate wealth, whereas our government leaders do precisely the opposite. Now, as for the announcement itself, it has to do with housing in the country. Freeland is talking about housing and the housing crisis. Here's what she said.
Whoa. Okay. Thank you very much for that warm introduction and the warm welcome. And I also want to start where Hamid concluded by really recognizing and thanking the skilled tradespeople whose hands and brains are building these homes Toronto desperately needs. So,
Right, we couldn't call them tradesmen because that would be politically incorrect in this sensitive and offensive modern era.
thank you very much, everyone.
And how does she repay, as the finance minister, those construction workers that she so publicly venerates? Well, she taxes them more, she makes it more difficult to earn a living, and with her government, continues to decrease the quality of life for Canadians.
And it is really great for me to be here, literally in my neighborhood. I live just down the road off Young. I often have to fly thousands and thousands of kilometers for announcements. This
I suppose she takes green planes when she does that too. Suppose that she takes planes which run on batteries with electricity stored up that's been generated by water or something along those lines. Yeah, for sure.
one I was able to ride my bike to. So
And she was able to ride her bike because, she doesn't drive. She never drives. She doesn't even own a car. She doesn't drive unless she's in Alberta, speeding in back roads.
thank you for building homes in our neighborhood, in our city we're so proud of. I'd like to start by acknowledging that we're gathered on the traditional territories of many nations, including the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Anishinaabe, the Chippewa, the Haudenosaunee, and the Wendat people. I am thrilled to be in Toronto today with my friend, our Justice Minister, Arif Virani, and my friend, the mayor of our amazing city, Mayor Olivia Chow, for this terrific announcement. Our government's economic plan is delivering real concrete action to build more homes faster. We can hear those homes being built right now, and to make housing more affordable.
It's not, housing's not more affordable. It's the exact opposite. Housing is not becoming cheaper. Canadians are still struggling to pay their mortgages, to even find a house that they could possibly one day in decades hope to afford.
This fall alone, we have taken action to remove the GST on the construction of new rental housing. I've heard from the developers here how much that's going to let you guys build more. We've announced plans to unlock $20 billion in new low cost financing to build up to 30,000 more new rental apartments per year. We have helped more than 250,000 Canadians save for their first down payment tax free with the new tax free first home savings account. We've taken steps to unlock surplus federal land in Calgary, Edmonton, St. John's, and Ottawa to build more than 2,800 new homes. And we're going to be doing more work on federal lands across the country.
So, suppose you have a rash on your arm and you go to the doctor, and the doctor takes a look at your arm, prescribes you some medication to remove the rash, and great. But then next week it happens again. So you return. The doctor does the same thing, gives you a prescription, sends you on your way. This cycle repeats week after week because the doctor isn't doing his job. He's treating the symptom of a problem, but not the actual problem itself. And until he diagnoses the problem, say it's a food allergy, that rash will continue to afflict the patient. The same is true with the federal government. Right now, the federal government is trying to treat, albeit poorly, the symptoms of the housing crisis without treating the crisis itself. They're removing a tax here, they're doing this and that over there, they're building some homes somewhere else, but they refuse to treat the actual problem. Freeland's made all these announcements. We're building 1,000 homes here, 2,000 homes over there. And yet we're bringing into this country every single year hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of thousands of new individuals. How do those things compute? Of course, the answer is they don't. We don't have enough housing as it is, and yet we're flooding Canada with new individuals who also need homes. And so the market responds by increasing the price of houses to the stratosphere to try and level out demand. That is, we have a restricted supply and an increasing demand. And so prices for homes continue to rise. And until the federal government decides to tackle that problem, which they think isn't a problem at all, it'll persist. The high housing prices, the unreachable housing prices for Canadians will continue to afflict.
Next Tuesday, I will be delivering our government's fall economic statement.
And we know it's going to be bad. The economic statement is going to be bad. They'll be talking about affordability and all of these things that the government itself caused, or the problems that the government caused. And then they're going to tell us how they're going to fix them and how they're fixing them right now, even though Canadians can't afford to live and they can't afford to die.
Our fall economic statement is based on a responsible fiscal plan that allows us to invest in what Canadians need right now.
What we need right now is first repentance, a return to the Lord Jesus Christ, and secondly, we need to remove this Liberal government from office. That's what we need right now.
That is why the fall economic statement will be focused on two key challenges: making life more affordable for Canadians and taking further concrete action on housing.
So, Liberals have made life unaffordable for Canadians and they've precipitated the housing market, or the housing crisis. So, why should we then tolerate whatever budget they put forward as being the solution to all of these problems? They're the ones who caused the problems. Why would we allow them to try and fix these problems? We know they're not going to be fixed, not under this finance minister, not under this government, because the very same policies which put us in this place, in this desperate place of economic uncertainty, on the precipice of economic collapse, are still being rammed through government by this government itself.
We know this is an urgent priority for Canadians, and we believe that at the heart of this issue is supply, supply, supply.
She completely neglects demand. She completely neglects demand. Hundreds of thousands of individuals are coming to the country every single year. They need places to live. And so the demand for housing is skyrocketing. But Freeland, all she wants to talk about is supply, supply, supply. Instead of it would be like turning off the water on a bathtub that's overflowing. That's what you do first. And then you build up the bathtub to hold more water. Whereas right now, Freeland's trying to build up the tub. But it's impossible to do so without turning off the water. You can't build it quickly enough to contain the flood.
This is especially true for the people of Toronto. That's why we know we need to keep acting every single day, every single week, and why, again, I am so grateful to the skilled tradespeople who are building the homes we need. Really, thank you so much. And that is why today I am delighted to announce that we are building 2,644 new rental units across Toronto, including 389 new rental units right here at Yonge and Eglinton at 55 Broadway, 855 rental homes at 373 Front Street East, 484 rental homes at 94 Eastdale Avenue, 390 rental homes at 325 Moriama Drive, 233 rental homes at 155.
Okay, so Freeland is speaking like she's never read these figures before. And to be honest, I think it's dubious that she's read any of these figures before. Again, she's an actor, and so she's practically reading off of a script. Now, she speaks for a little bit longer about everything you'd expect, and then after Mayor Chow speaks, we don't need to listen to that, and the Justice Minister speak, Freeland answers a few questions. Here's one of them.
One question, one follow-up. So une question en suivi. Could journalists please just state their name and their outlets before asking questions? Thank you.
Hi, Oliver Moore with the Globe and Mail. This is a question for the Finance Minister about the Housing Accelerator Fund. The provinces have been pushing back recently at the money flowing directly to the cities. I think Doug Ford called it jurisdictional creep. Why is it important that this money go to the cities, not through the province's hands? And will your government continue that if, as they've threatened, they pass legislation to stop it?
So I think today's announcement and the building we see all around us is a really good example of how having the federal government collaborate with municipalities can really work and deliver results.
Right. So that's a real sentence that she said, as if that's justification for the federal government to trespass into domains that are not its own. That is, they're injecting themselves directly into municipalities with, for example, this Housing Accelerator Fund. Now, what is the Housing Accelerator Fund? Someone might ask, well, it's simple. It's a fund that encourages initiatives that increase housing supply and promote the development of affordable, inclusive, and diverse communities that are low carbon and climate resilient. So it's really no question at all. Why is the federal government involving itself so intimately with cities instead of going through provinces and then to cities? And it's because it enables them to more closely scrutinize what cities are doing. That is, if they get this money, if cities receive this money, then they have to abide by rules. They have to abide by government's outline for what the cities or what the new communities should look like: low carbon, climate resilient, and so on. And by bypassing the provincial governments, the federal government gives itself far more control over that process than what would otherwise be possible.
The federal government this year is providing nearly $1.9 billion.
Right. So that's nonsense too. That's a nonsensical socialist statement that's detestable because it's a lie. The idea is the federal government is giving you money. That's wrong. You are giving the federal government money. And then the federal government is taking your money, almost $2 billion in this case, and is redistributing it to other communities across the country. It's not their money. It's not like they generated that wealth and then by some act of benevolence decided to freely hand it out to anyone who needs it. No, they took the money from you first and then they distribute it around the nation to make sure they win political power next election.
2 projects in the city of Toronto, and they are projects that the people of Toronto need. Having said that, I am really pleased to see the premiers paying attention to municipalities, and given their enthusiasm and their focus on the municipalities of Canada, I would love to see them providing even more support to the municipalities over whom they are proudly asserting their jurisdiction. I think that would be a win-win outcome for everybody.
The second half of my question, would the federal government continue to put the money directly to cities if the provinces pass the kind of legislation they're talking about?
One thing I learned during the NAFTA negotiations is never to answer a hypothetical, but our government is a rule of law government.
Yeah, right. Our government is a rule of law government. That's enough of that. I don't want to watch anymore. We're in a state of crisis here in the country, in large part because of Chrystia Freeland and the federal government's policies, economic policies. We have all of these problems, and yet they refuse to diagnose those problems for what they are, preferring instead to make sure they maintain political power at the expense of the well-being of Canadians, the first step to solve this crisis is clear and simple. The Liberal government, Krista Freeland, all of these ministers that do not serve justice or righteousness or law need to be removed and replaced with leaders who do.